I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East.
Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt in Studio West. That was President Trump at yesterday's press conference with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Joining me to discuss that and other topics that are breaking loose today is Bret Baier. He is host of Special Report every night, Monday through Friday, from 6 to 7 on the Fox News Channel Eastern. Bret brings you the news, just straight up news, old-fashioned, old school. Bret, when the president said that yesterday, I've spent a lot of time today talking about this. What was your reaction?
Holy cow. I think that was probably first reaction. I think that, it was a surprising thing. It was, I think walked back a little bit today as far as, U.S. troops and when it happens and more of a nuanced ownership as far as being a part of the solution in Gaza. But when it was said, how it was said next to Bibi Netanyahu was a big moment.
Big moment. I have been educating the audience that in Gaza is 90,000 acres, and that's a lot of land. The Disney World's 25,000 acres. The Woodlands is 28,000 acres. The Villages in Florida, 35,000 acres. And the Irvine Ranch out here in Southern California is 100,000 acres. So it's manageable. You could do a master plan community, but there are two problems. Not problems, there are two facts on the ground. One is 2 million Gazans with nowhere to go, and the other is Hamas is a terrorist organization that's in the tunnels with hostages. Donald Trump just sort of jumped over that. What do you think he was trying? Who was he talking to there? I have a theory, but what's your theory?
I think he was talking to the Saudis, and I think he was saying, listen, if you guys don't step up with a solution here, this could be my solution. I actually don't think Donald Trump is in the business of occupying any area in the Middle East. I mean, he ran against George W. Bush's, efforts in Iraq and has talked about America first, and we don't need to be the policeman of the world. This is a different sounding Donald Trump, but I actually think the message was more of a negotiating message if I was to read between the lines.
Yeah, I try to be very humble about interpreting the president's remarks because he's thinking his own thoughts, and I've talked to him on the air about Gaza before, and he does think it's prime real estate. I thought he might be messaging the ruler of Egypt, President Sisi, and the king of Jordan, King Abdullah, about, look, Egypt, you got 112 million people, take some of these, and Jordan, you've got 11 million people, take some more, so that we can at least begin the rebuild, because no one can live there. I haven't been to Gaza. I've never been to Gaza, but I can't imagine 2 million people surviving there. Can you?
I have been to Gaza, but I haven't been after it's been bombed for months on end with, live munitions still on the ground. I mean, to hear the Israelis and Steve Witkoff and others talk about it, it's a 10 to 15-year project. That said, part of the message was to what I'm saying, the Saudis, is that they run point, but Egypt and Jordan would be the facilitators of taking in, Palestinians from Gaza, 100%. But I have a feeling that MBS, the Crown Prince, wants to be in the center of the action on big negotiations, and so that's maybe where this ends up.
Yeah, the Crown Prince has got a big plan for Saudi Arabia that involves Israeli tech eventually. The UAE opened the door, and I think you're right. And I think that's just the kickoff. It's sort of like when they cut the ribbon and you see the model and it's not really built and the land isn't cleared. I run by occasionally. There's a water project in Old Town Alexandria, south of Gravelly Port, past Reagan, that's been under construction for 8 years. It's a water project. I really think Gaza is going to take 30 years. Bret, I want to go to a delicate story for me and for you. I've had Politico guests for a long time. When they opened it, Mike Allen, Jim Vandehei, they did so on my show. Weekly guest for years, Olivia Beavers, has been on the panel on Special Report with me, was until last month, the Politico reporter. I'm kind of shocked that they took $35 million. That's the high end. We know at least $8 million. That's the low end in the last year from the federal government. What was your reaction to that, and does it change how you will treat Politico?
Yeah, we've had on again, off again with Politico. I think we're off again. I have to check, but I think it's surprising. I don't think it helps with trust, especially if you look at some of the angles that they were taking in heavy criticism of administration and federal government actions. And it comes on a day where you get CBS releasing the transcript of the Kamala Harris interview with 60 Minutes, and how it was kind of changed around to eliminate the word salad in the Bill Whitaker interview.
I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. I did post the link so people could. It's 53 minutes long. What's the news grab there? How do you lead with that tonight?
I mean, the news grab is it's clearly an effort to make her look better, and in the middle of a campaign, is that fair? The Trump campaign would argue it's not. It was a cleanup on aisle 4 of a really bad answer.
Wow.
And they just got busted because one show accidentally ran the full version, and another show chose to chop it up in much better looking pieces.
Wow. Okay. I doubt very much we would have an earthquake of measurable proportion if the Trump administration gave me or you $35 million with which to work. I just don't think that the shows would collapse, right? We would be run out of town. I await further developments. Let me ask you about the girls' sport executive order. And Mary Margaret Olahan, I believe is how you pronounce her name, from the Daily Caller, posted this video. It's really quite remarkable, of the little girls around the president's desk and the older girls and women athletes behind him. I don't see how this is other than a 90-10 issue, Bret Baier. What do you think?
I agree. I think if you look at polls before Election Day, that's where it was. It was motivating for independents and suburban women and moms, and it was not even a political issue. It became, a social, cultural issue that was hurting young girls in sports, and it took off. So I do think it's a big deal. Of course, we're going to see lawsuits, and we'll see challenges, but I think, the president promised this and he delivered.
Yep. Last political question has to do with the DNC elections, and they were pretty hard left. At the same time, you and I both try and bring on Democrats who want to talk about substance, Ro Khanna or Josh Shapiro or Chris Coons. There are a bunch of Democrats who will, I would call center-left Democrats that want. I don't think the DNC did them any favors. Do you?
I don't. I actually was kind of surprised that it went the way it did. And I still think they are a party in the wilderness trying to find some footing. I think, the president is giving them some things to grab onto. They're really into Elon Musk and what he's doing and how he's doing it with Doge. I think, the freeze gave them a little bump. But as far as, messaging across the board, haven't seen it yet.
Now, let's close on that. The Democrats were fighting against Elon Musk on every front until the numbers began to come out on USAID. I'm not in favor of laying off 10,000 federal employees with no notice, but that agency's a wreck, and they've been doing terrible things with our money. Do you think that gives a Captain America shield to Elon Musk for a while?
I do definitely with Republicans and independents. I think Democrats are jumping on the, Republicans argued for years that unelected bureaucrats were controlling money and policy in Washington. And here is an unelected person who is scrubbing and making decisions that Congress, feels like they should weigh in on. And I get it. And they have to articulate it better, because fighting all the waste, fraud, and abuse that he's finding and putting out publicly is pretty popular. Yeah,
if you can find a Democrat to say, we intended Politico to get $35 million and for the Peruvian comic book to be published, I'll watch that twice, Bret Baier, and I'll be 100%. watching tonight 6 to 7, Monday through Friday, special report with Bret Baier. Thank you, Bret.